Schinner is an award-winning chef, author, entrepreneur, and speaker. The founder of Miyoko's Creamery, which you guys know that. She is often credited to bringing vegan cheese to mainstream audiences. She also founded Rancho Compasión, which is a beautiful, beautiful animal sanctuary. And she also currently teaches a food system course at UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. All right. Miyoko is the author of 7 cookbooks, including the best-selling The Homemade Vegan Pantry, the book credited for launching the vegan cheese revolution, artisan vegan cheese, and her most recent book that just came out, The Vegan Creamery. She was featured in a 4-part Netflix series, You Are What You Eat, a twinning experiment. Okay, I just turned 50, and I need glasses, and I'm like, my wife bought me some for my 50th birthday, and I lost them already. All right, this is great. You guys all know who Miyoko is. She has 3 grown children. She resides in West Marin with her dogs, cats, and over 100 animals at Rancho Compasión. We're very honored. Let's welcome Miyoko.
Thank you, Greg. Well, hello there, everybody. How are you all? Are you guys having fun today? I mean, I haven't been to an SFVS event for a very, very long time. And I love this venue. I love the new energy the organization has. You know, I remember being a part of this literally back in the 1990s. Does anyone remember? Has anyone been vegan that long? Okay, anyone remember Dixie May? Yes. Okay, and it was just a really different organization back then. I remember going to these well, it was called the San Francisco Vegetarian Society because they didn't want to offend people, you know, and it was trying to be more inclusive. And I remember when it transitioned to using the word vegan, I remember these potlucks. Oh my God. I mean, today, is vegan food good or what? Okay, but back then, I would go to these potlucks and there was, you know, sometimes people didn't understand that when you went to a potluck, you actually brought enough food to share with others. And I remember, like, you know, people would bring like a tiny 8-ounce Chinese food tray of food, or, you know, and put it out there. And I had a restaurant back then called Now and Zen, so I would always bring like tons and tons of food. And then there was food that it felt like someone actually took a syringe and sucked the flavor out of it. I mean, it was just bad. So, I mean, this whole movement has come a long ways for vegans. But today we're going to talk about how it hasn't come a long way for non-vegans and what we should do about it. So anyway, is there a clicker or do I just push the... Oh, is this the clicker? Okay, I just want to make... Okay, got it. All right, well anyway, about a couple of months ago, I went to Farm Sanctuary to give a talk. Is everyone familiar with Farm Sanctuary? All right, yeah, well, for some of you who may not be familiar, it was actually the very first farm animal sanctuary created in the United States. And since then, you know, there's so many others, including the one that I started 10 years ago, Rancho Compasión in West Marin. But anyway, so I went out there. Yeah, we have a table out there if you want to come out and learn more about it. And we got all kinds of events and youth programs, summer camp, all sorts of things. And I'll speak a little more about that later. But anyway, I went out to Farm Sanctuary, which is in upstate New York. And so I flew out. And there were all these storms out in DC where I had to change planes. And I got to DC, and it turned out there were no planes available for me to get to Ithaca for 2 days. So I ended up having to spend the night and drive 6 hours the next day. I was with my daughter, my youngest daughter, who lives in New York, and she had been visiting me, and so she made the trip with me. And we're driving in the car and going, oh my God, we're so tired, we need some coffee. So she quickly, you know, found a place to get some coffee. It was right off the freeway. So we got off the freeway and we drive into this large parking lot and there's this mammoth building. And I'm like, that does not look like a coffee shop. It's not a shopping center. What is it? And my daughter goes, it's a mega church. And I was like, well, I don't think we, you know, there's coffee in there. We can't possibly go in there. And she goes, they probably have a coffee shop in there. So we went in, and as we're walking in, I was really skeptical, and this group of people were coming out, and I said, is there a coffee shop in there? And the woman goes, oh my God, it's the best coffee ever. You guys are gonna have such great coffee. It's right over there. She was just like effusive with bubbliness. Like I'd never been greeted with by someone like that. So we went in there, and lo and behold, there was a coffee shop. And I went in there, and the woman there greeted me with a big smile on her face, and I just said, you don't happen to have any plant milk, do you? And she goes, oh yeah, we got oat and soy and almond, and she just started rattling off all these different plant milks. And so I got myself a soy cappuccino, and it was indeed really, really good. But what fascinated us was that we started looking around like, what is this place? Right across the hallway from this coffee shop was a library, and then there was a bookstore, and then there was some sort of community room where people were gathered and doing things. And it looked like there was some sort of, we could hear balls bouncing. There must have been some sort of, I don't know, tennis court or basketball court down the hallway. I have no idea. And my daughter's like, I really want to film all this, but I don't think I should. Because we've never been in a place like this before. Like you hear about these mega churches, you hear about all these Christian nationalists, and you just think they're totally crazy and they're full of hate and all of this stuff. And this place did not seem to me so much a place of worship as a place of gathering, as a place of community. And it really, really shocked me. So we left, and we spent the next 4 hours driving up to Ithaca. And it really got me thinking about what is the relevance of veganism in our age? What is it we're doing that's not quite right, that these people have right? What do they do to attract so many people and provide some semblance of joy and community? And why is it that we are not doing so well? When I think about veganism over the ages. When I first became a vegan back in the 1980s, there was almost no one who was vegan. I didn't know anybody. I did it by myself. And then when I moved to San Francisco, I met the San Francisco Vegetarian Society, and I made a few friends, but still, you're not getting together all the time. I was kind of going at it by myself. And over the years, we have seen the rise of so many plant-based products. And you know very well, 20 years ago, people had no idea what veganism was. They couldn't pronounce it. And today, everybody, it doesn't matter where you go, whether or not they eat vegan or have plant-based meats in their refrigerator, everybody knows what vegan is. The awareness has grown. And yet the sad thing is, the number of vegans has not grown at all. If I can get this to work. Oh, there we go. Okay, what am I doing? There we go. Okay, so what is the state of veganism today? Well, actually, not a whole lot different. In fact, there are more former vegans and vegetarians than new vegans and vegetarians. So this is a Phonalytics study that was done. The percentage of U.S. adult vegans hasn't changed much. In fact, it's lower now than it was even just a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic. We have more we have recidivism, that's the word, among vegans and vegetarians. And we have to think about, why is that? What is it that's not resonating with people to want them to remain vegan? Is everyone here vegan? Anyone? And if you're not, that's okay. I'm talking to you too. Who is not vegan? Great, fantastic. Because in my book, you're pre-vegan. And I'm telling you, the vegan club is the most inclusive club in the world. And guess what? Yeah, it's free. It doesn't cost a cent to join. So I got an application right at my desk. I can sign you up this afternoon. Anyway, I'm just kidding, but all right. But it sort of is the attitude that we need. All right, so we have a problem retaining vegans and vegetarians. And so in 2025, 4% of adults were vegans, 6% have been vegans for 3+ years, but we're no longer. There's a 60% lapse. And that's the VRG study. According to Faunalytics, it was even lower. And they cite food, health, and social reasons for their lapse. They're also dissatisfied with vegan food. Didn't I not just hear everyone say how fantastic vegan food was? Okay, well, why is it that so many people don't think it's fantastic? And we're going to get into that a little bit as well. So, this is what I think is missing. As vegans, we are a very inclusive club. In fact, we're so inclusive, we keep others out. We spend a lot of time amongst each other talking about, why don't those people just get it? That cognitive dissonance. It just doesn't make sense. It's so obvious that you should be vegan for sustainability purposes, for animal welfare. How can they, say, oh my God, slaughterhouses are so awful, but then go and eat a burger afterwards? Have you ever been involved in one of those conversations?
Every day.
Okay. And we're sitting there and we judge the rest of the world of how they're just not as morally, elevated as we are. And it makes us feel good, doesn't it? No? Okay. Well, thank you. I don't know that judging others makes anyone feel good. But what is our forms of activism? We talk at people. We go and tell them what is wrong with what they're doing and what's right about what we're doing. We show them facts and figures, scary videos, and we stand out there at the Civic Center with computers that show images of factory farms, or we hold an animal out there, or we go and rescue animals in a way that creates a lot of drama. Maybe good, maybe bad. It's to be argued. But how many non-vegans look at us and just think, they're totally nuts. They're totally crazy. How many vegans do you know that say, I don't go to my family's Thanksgiving anymore because I can't stand to look at that dead bird? And so you'd rather sit at home and eat by yourself. How many of you no longer associate with non-vegans? Anybody here? Or you all associate with non-vegans? Yes, well, thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit about food and how food is different from other forms of activism. Now, there's a lot of problems in the world today about, whether it's what's going on in other parts of the world that I won't mention. There's so many things that involve reason and data that will convince people, and people will make decisions based on seeing that reason and data. But food, no. Food is deeply communal. It's deeply cultural. It's deeply historical. It is something that you feel. It is something that's deeply emotive. And just because you know that animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of greenhouse gas emissions, or that animals are suffering, may not be enough to get you to change your lifestyle. I had a friend who became vegan by watching Dominion, or I believe it was Dominion, or it was one of those movies, and he thought, oh my God, I gotta get my dad onto the program. So he sat down and they watched it with his dad, and his dad said, yeah, really, really compelling. And then he went and ate a steak. It did not work, because we cannot reach people by talking at them, by trying to convince them through reason. Now, have you heard the expression that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach? The way to anyone's heart is through their stomach, because food has always been an expression of love. Humanity evolved to where we are today only because we farmed together. We are not a species that could survive as individuals. like a lion or a ruminant like a goat. They graze or they hunt individually. Now, there are a few species that hunt together or graze together, but most of them are individuals, but not humans. We only evolved through the act of farming together, doing agriculture together, or if we hunted in bands, in tribes. Society developed because we formed families and tribes and communities. And these communities grew over the millennia to become the human societies we have today. But today we are doing something that is utterly different from the rest of human history. And that is, we have become like individual animals, having relationships predominantly with our screens, eating alone in front of our computers, not sharing food, not breaking bread together. And this is one of the problems that we have. We have to recognize the meaning of food if we're going to make food advocacy meaningful. Now let's talk about Jane Goodall. The kind of speaking at people type of activism does not work. If you want someone to join forces with you, you have to inspire them to be their best self. You have to convince them that there is a part within them that can be better than they've ever been. And you have to be that role model. No one wants to feel shamed that they're bad, that they're evil. People want to know what they can do to help the world. And we have to believe that every individual on this planet has something to contribute to the betterment of the world. And we have to become champions of that belief for others. Jane Goodall was one of them. She spoke to everyone with kindness. She had a way to tap into everyone and make them want to be better versions of themselves in regards to animals. She radiated compassion and kindness, and thereby she inspired compassion in others. We have to elevate our activism. Instead of being judgmental, we have to change it so it becomes inspirational. That is how we will embrace others and get them to join our cause. The other part that's missing is the aspirational part. Now, you think about Italy and La Dolce Vita, and everybody wants to go to Italy, don't they? I mean, you just think about it. It's this beautiful, slow culture. Slow food was invented there, and it's beautiful as well. Oh, the culture, the romance of the architecture, everything. We just romanticize everything about Italy, the sound of the music, the sound of the language, because it's just so beautiful, La Dolce Vita. But veganism is not seen as something that's aspirational. It is portrayed as something that takes away from the good life. It is not the good life. For most people who are not vegan, it is something that will deprive you of any good life you might have had. So we have to inject that aspirational quality of veganism into our advocacy and activism. Veganism should become the Italy of activism. It should be the thing that should be like, oh man, I really want to go vegan. It just seems so sexy, and the food, oh my God, but I just can't do it. It's really, really hard. That's what we need. And it starts with the food. The food has to be beautiful. Now, it doesn't have to be expensive. A lot of people think that vegan food is expensive because they think you have to buy these products. No, you don't have to buy products, but you should learn how to cook beans and make them absolutely delicious. Italian food is beautiful because it comes from a history of peasant food called la cucina povera, which means poor man's plate. Because Italians weren't eating prosciutto and Parmigiano Reggiano, throughout history. Most Italians were very, very poor until the 1980s when they had their economic boom and sort of brought meat and dairy into their diets. But if you talk to most nonnas in, Italian nonnas, like, how did you eat back in the, 50, 60, 70 years ago? They'll tell you, oh, we ate, we had some pasta, we had some beans, we foraged for mushrooms, we picked some greens from the backyard or in the mountains. Their diets were very, very simple, and they were very, very good. There is nothing better than Umbrian lentils with some porcini mushrooms. Oh my gosh, it's just enough to get you to salivate. So vegan food should be very simple and beautiful and elevated and make others crave it. It should be crave-worthy. We need to inject that aspirational quality of veganism into our advocacy. Sorry, I'm going backwards. Okay, what did I do wrong? Okay, I don't know what I did. So, I need some tech help here. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you? I don't know what I did. Okay.
Is it going down?
No, okay, all right, so that, we already, okay, there we go. I don't know what, I'm sorry about that. All right. Uh-oh. No, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, it went, you know what? I'm sorry. Okay. So, here's the third leg of the stool. It has to be inspirational, it has to be aspirational, and it has to create community. We have to become the mega church of compassion and love. More than ever today, people are lonely and disconnected. Do you know that over 50% of the population claims they are lonely? It's both men and women. The former Surgeon General actually declared that there was a loneliness epidemic in the United States. Families have fallen apart. People no longer, well, this is not a mega church. It's a big church, but it's not a typical mega church. But people used to go to places of worship to get together, and that doesn't happen anymore. Community centers are no more. And we are celebrating having a relationship with screens. And sometimes with, what are those fake people on the screens? Whatever they're called, I don't even know. As you can tell, I can't even use a clicker, so that's how bad I am. So, and people also have trouble finding common values and purpose, especially today with people's jobs being at risk. When you think about AI and people say so many jobs are going to go away with AI, that's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is that people's sense of purpose will go away. What if everyone had a basic income and you never had to work again? Okay, so you can eat. What are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do every day? What is that ikigai, that sense of purpose that's going to get you up each morning to go do something? We all need to feel that there is value to our individual lives, that we are doing something of value, that we are contributing, that we are important, not just to ourselves, but to others. And we need each other in order to feel that sense of value. We also are finding that we're not supported, and we're not supporting. And many of us now feel we're not accepted, especially if you're a vegan, because you feel like, well, they just don't accept me. If they don't accept you, why don't we accept them? Let's be the megachurch that invites everyone to the table to break bread, to share meals, to connect in person. We need to inspire people, we need to be aspirational, and we need to be the agents of creating community. We can't just say, well, I can't find a community. Then let's create those communities that embrace others. So I'm not kidding when I said that we need to be the biggest, most loving club on the planet, and membership fee is $0 for everybody. So there's this Zen monk, Matthew Richaud, and they put these electrodes on his head, and they measured his gamma rays, and gamma waves, not rays, sorry. And they found that he apparently is the happiest man on earth, which is pretty amazing. And he's vegan, by the way. He's a French monk. And he truly believes that sharing your joy and abundance is the key to happiness. Instead of satisfying yourself, find a way you can give and share your joy. Does veganism make you happy? Then share that joy with others. Be so infectious that people will want to join your club. Oh my God. What am I doing wrong?
There you go. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so this is what the Dalai Lama said. If one wishes to make others happy, be compassionate. If one wishes to be happy, be compassionate. It's not money, it's not having that cool tech job. It's nurturing compassion in yourself and in others. I don't care, I know I was in the food industry for a long time, and I thought maybe the market could change the trajectory of food and save animals. But I've reached a point where I think at the end of the day, it's the human being that needs to evolve. Each and every single one of us has to change. And we need to become the most loving people on the planet so we can nurture that same compassion in others. So here's where you come in. This was a study that was done by, believe it or not, the Effective Altruists. If you know about them, I won't go into that. But what they did was they went and they asked about 1,200 vegans and vegetarians what was the initial trigger to make them go vegan or vegetarian. And the number one thing was personal conversations. It wasn't some slaughterhouse video or some leafleting at a university. It was personal conversations with friends and family. In other words, that conversation matters. It may not matter the first time, it may not matter the second time, but it matters. If you do it in a loving way, in a friendly way, don't attack people, don't shame them, but keep having those conversations while you break bread together. The next two items that are the most effective are animal interactions, either with pets or with farmed animals, and documentaries. So connecting people to animals in a very, very organic way is another way to inspire compassion in people. Okay. Oh. Well, I did something right. Okay. So if you tap into people's hearts and find and nurture compassion, it turns out the most compelling reason for people to become vegan and to stay vegan is animal welfare. It's not health. So in terms of retention, it's understanding that there are other sentient beings on this planet that are also entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So environmental and health are also important, but animal welfare, the moral reasoning behind veganism, in terms of retention is important. But you have to find a hook. So as I talked about before, food is deeply communal, cultural, and emotive. You cannot forget that. And we have to find ways of doing that. Breaking bread is the new activism. Traditional activism is work, isn't it? And you sweat, and you have fights, and you have arguments. Vegans love to debate, and they go, oh, why don't they understand there's something wrong with them? It's that cognitive dissonance. It's the kind of stuff you see on Instagram all the time. But making friends is fun work. Make friends with non-vegans and eat together, because that is delicious work. It doesn't, if they don't order a vegan meal and you go to a restaurant, that's okay. But it's a starting place. But if you don't gather with people, by the way, this picture is from one of my Italy tours. I lead these vegan culinary tours all over the world. And next year I'm going to Japan, Tanzania, that includes a safari, and India. And if you want more information, you can go to my website, miyokoschinner.com. Connect in real life and create community. So this picture right here is an interesting one. That is a cooking class I did at Rancho Compasión for my community. Now I'm in West Marin. It's in a rural area. I'm surrounded by dairy and cattle ranches. And one of the women there, actually there were three ranchers that came to my vegan cooking class. 3 ranchers. Now, how do I find common ground to start? Because whether or not you think they are your enemy, we are all human beings, and we all have something that we can find common ground on. Now, where I live, these ranchers consider themselves so-called regenerative ranchers, and the whole regenerative movement. You don't till the soil, and you have to have animals to put biomass back in there to raise the nitrogen, absorb carbon, all this sort of. They have all these ideas. And they all believe in, what it's called free-range cattle, etc. And they believe that they take care of their animals well. They're all very, very anti-factory farming. So this sounds crazy, but being against industrial animal agriculture was a common ground, a place from which I could start a relationship with these people. And because they know I'm not a judgmental vegan, they had no fear coming to my cooking class. And what they said was, we want to learn how to cook beans and vegetables and incorporate them into our diet. We realize we're getting older. I'm 60 years old and I can't be eating meat the rest of my life like this. I've got to learn how to reduce this. So you can find common ground in the most unlikely places if you open your heart and your mind and assume that this is a good person in front of me. This person wants to do good, and I need to tap into that and figure out what that is. From this cooking class, this group of women asked me to host a holiday party. And they said, it'll be a potluck, so you don't have to do all the work. And I said, that's great, except for it has to be vegan. And so they went and thought about it, and they came back to me and they said, yeah, we all agree. We're all going to make a vegan dish. And about 35 women came to my house. The table, I've never seen my dining room table so full of food. And the women said, we had so much fun researching recipes, or I didn't realize that this favorite dish of my family's was already vegan. And the food was delicious. And I have that phenomenally vegan, a real tattoo on my arm, but I had some fake tattoos. So they all put one on, and we took a group picture together. Ranchers among them, because there was no threat, because the conversations happened naturally while we broke bread together. Now, how can you do that if you're not going to teach a cooking class? Start a cooking club. How many of you have ever been to a book club? Okay, do a cooking club instead. Get together with people, invite non-vegans and a couple of vegans, and just cook together. There's nothing more fun. The food tastes so much better when you actually cook together and eat it. You will make friends, you will be forming community, and you will get people safe, in a safe space where if they want to become vegan, they can. Because those that are on the road to veganism, if they're even interested, they need support just like each and every one of us. We all need support. So create those spaces where you can help support people. I have a friend who has something called Porch. She lives in Alabama. And every weekend they go to someone's porch and they have a little potluck. And over time, those dishes have become increasingly vegan. She was the only vegan, and every single week now, there are more and more vegan dishes, to the point that almost nobody wants to bring something with animal foods in it. And she has created friends in that way. Start a neighborhood cooking association. Get to know your neighbors. Start talking to them and say, you know what? I'm tired. I don't want to cook all the time. Why don't we rotate to each other's houses and we'll cook for each other? Find 3 or 4 people. You cook one night, somebody else cooks another night. Maybe you just do it once in a while. But connect with people over food and remain human. Making food, sharing food, nurturing ourselves and nurturing each other is what makes us unique as a species. No other species does that. It doesn't make us exceptional, it just makes us different. We can't survive. We would never have evolved to this point had we not grown food, harvested food, prepared food, and fed each other. We can't give that up. We have to continue the art of feeding each other in order to maintain who we are as a species, as humans. Unless you want to spend the rest of your life eating food from one of the 10 multinational corporations that provide 70% of what we eat today. And that is a fact. So take power back into your kitchen. Create kitchen sovereignty and use that as your foundational place of activism. You will inspire people. You will show how delicious and aspirational the vegan diet and food can be. And you will create community that will not only help the people that you invite, but will help you as well. We have to do this together. We have to, if we want to go from 2% of the population to 10% to 15% to 20% and more, we can only do so by embracing others rather than pushing people away. So can I get everyone on board to go into the world with love and compassion and embrace them? Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer a few questions. We have a few minutes for questions. Yes. It's U.S. Yes. Yes. Any other questions? Did you bring any cheese? Well, you know, I didn't bring any cheese. I do have a new book called The Vegan Creamery. We have a few copies left. It was just published a month ago and has everything from making milk to butter to yogurt to sour cream to cheese to ice cream. But as you may or may not know, I am no longer associated with a company that I founded. We parted ways 3 years ago. But you can make cheese in the comfort of your home, and I encourage everyone to do that. That's one reason I wrote the book, because the only way we're going to achieve food equity is if we take food into our own hands and actually start making foods ourselves and sharing it. Yes. Oh my God, what are my favorite things to make for non-vegans? I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. You know, it could be like, this class here, I showed them how to make handmade pasta. You know, we started in a place that was very safe. And we made a panzanella salad. There's so many traditional foods that are naturally vegan that don't threaten. I would say stay away from meat alternatives. Don't try to make fake this, fake that, and explore the wealth of traditional foods from around the world. There are so many that are absolutely delicious. If you learn, you know, I do serve cheese that I make because it's damn good, and you should learn how to do that as well too. One thing that I found, these ranchers or the people that came to my house and learned to cook, I asked them about, you know, meat alternatives, and they were like, we don't want to eat them. They're highly processed. That's another thing. We've done a great job of creating a very, in some ways, these products help to create awareness of veganism. But at the same time, all that awareness is not necessarily good because it gave people the impression that it was highly processed and it was expensive and you couldn't go vegan unless you bought Beyond, that sort of thing, which is, we need to dispel those notions as well. So, yes. So how do you toe the line between non-vegan friends and vegans? It really depends on every situation and depends on your personality. And the timeline can also vary. But I can tell you, in my community of lots of ranches and traditional eating, farm to table eating, over time, there's a yearly barbecue for the fire department. And it used to just be meat, and now they always have a vegan option. It's on the menu too. And now more and more people are coming up and saying, "Oh, I'm eating less meat." So it takes time. I never demanded. If it was at my house, I made it clear that I was vegan, and just out of respect for animals that are on the sanctuary, because I live with the animals, please don't bring animal products. I would just be very polite about it. Maybe they thought I was crazy initially. I have no idea. But over time, people have come to respect that. So if you respect them, they will respect you. You just can't be judgmental. You just have to, and you just got to really learn how to cook well. Because if your food is better than anybody else's, they can't do anything. So, any other questions? Yes. That's a good question. This is the problem with beans, is that people only cook beans one way. You cook black beans a certain way, and then you do, and they tend to be fairly bland. So I would, who's a fan of Rancho Gordo? Anybody? Our Rancho Gordo, really nice heirloom beans. You can cook them in a pot. You can cook them in a slow cooker. It really depends on the recipe. I like to cook a huge pot of beans, and then I put them into different containers, and I freeze them. And then I have ways of flavoring them different ways. Miso with lemon, miso with lemon zest is a great combination. Drizzle with olive oil. Some tomatoes with lots of fresh oregano and herbs and mushrooms. There's like so many different combinations. So if you have the beans ready in your freezer, you can just pull them out, and in 10, 15 minutes, you can flavor them, and they're just absolutely succulent. So experiment with beans. I have a YouTube channel called The Vegan Good Life with Miyoko, and I think I'm just going to do a bean series because I got to get, I'm on the quest to make beans sexy again. So. Anyway, I have time for one more question if there is another question. Yes?
I guess one thing I really like that I've been able to find is just like some sort of universal resource for vegan recipes, like a giant cookbook you can find online.
Well, universal resource, that's kind of hard because we don't want to whitewash recipes. There's so many resources already online. And there's so many, when I wrote my very first cookbook, The Now and Zen Epicure, in 1990, there were virtually no vegan cookbooks at all. There was no internet, so you couldn't find recipes online. There were very few vegan restaurants, and you had to kind of invent your way. Today, the internet is full of recipes. You can find pretty much anything you like. There are so many vegan authors, some, better than others. For online recipes, I'm always a little careful because oftentimes they're not tested. Somebody makes something once. I've done the same thing. I'll make something once like, oh my God, that tastes great. And I'll scribble it down, I make it again, and it doesn't turn out. And it's because I wasn't really careful the first time I made it. And a lot of influencers, it's kind of like that. So you kind of just have to poke around. But there's so many recipes out. There's so many, YouTube channels. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. There is no dearth of excellent recipes. The dearth we have is lack of practice in the kitchen. Learn to cook. It's fun. It's tasty. And you will make so many people happy. So, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a great time the rest of the day.